All right. Hi, and welcome to the Torch Snuffers podcast. We are back for season 37 of Survivor, David versus Goliath. I'm your host, Alicia Garza, and with me is my fabulous panel of Survivor fans slash experts. We've got Alex Cash,
Hi.
Stephen Lehman,
Woo woo!
Ben Mealy.
Let's go, friends.
Yeah, and our very adored former actual real host slash founder of the Torch Snuffers podcast, Colin Connors.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, so good to see all of your faces. So good to be back. And so wonderful to have another season of Survivor to look forward to. We saw the premiere episode, and we have a very, I think, mutual opinion that it was fabulous and so great. Alex, you're nodding. What did you love about the premiere?
Just that we got a little something from everybody. There was very little in the way of like overbearingly focused characters. Like you could say that the Ghost Island premiere had like three characters: Jacob, Dominic, and Chris. This premiere had 20 characters. Just a little something something different for everybody, and like a true ensemble effort.
Yeah, totally agree. Ben?
I'm right there with you, and I think part of the reason why I was very happy is that I went into it with high expectations just because I'm coming off watching Big Brother this summer. It was one of the best seasons of Big Brother this summer, and so my expectations going in for is very high. And so for them to actually meet it and for them to actually hit us with 20 distinct people that we're able to come to conclusions about on our own rather than just shoving like 3 or 4 people down our throat at first. I think they're starting to realize it's a better play to just let us get to know everyone and not let them shove and make us know right off the bat who the players that are going to unroll this season are.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that we're not getting overbearing story arc episode 1. We're getting little tastes of the possibilities for this season. And I especially love that, they just as the episode kept going on, people would pop out of nowhere and you would be like, oh my gosh, another person that I didn't even know existed and now I know existed and is endearing. I don't know, it was like halfway through the episode and then suddenly Davy catches an octopus and he's like, I've got an octopus and it's adorable, and I had never seen his face until he did that, and it was so much fun to see all that happening. And Ben, I love what you said about getting to form our own opinions. I know as we were watching, we have a little group chat and there was kind of like the Natalie versus Natalia feud happening on the tribe, and we had Steven who was feeling very strongly team Natalie, and although I didn't voice it, I was feeling pretty team Natalia, and so it's just so much fun that we get to Steven, you're laughing. What is it about Natalie that you so support in that fight?
It's not so much I support her. I just think she has a better ceiling as a character. Whereas Natalia, I feel obviously she could be fun, but Natalie, from my perspective, in the few minutes we've been shown, has demonstrated however long we have her, she's going to be a fun character. So I'm hoping Natalie can climb out of the hole, but not very optimistic.
Fair. And I was coming at it from an I would be Natalia and be like, who is this woman doing nothing and being angry and
Natalie would be a pain to live with. But...
Yeah.
I think that Natalie is fantastic for the character aspect, but for the day-to-day actually having to live 39 full days with this person, maybe the edges need to be smoothed to a degree.
That is a very delicate way of putting it. And Colin, we haven't heard from you yet.
Well, if it's about the Natalie-Natalia feud, I have to agree with kind of Ben. As much as I enjoy her as a character, I do often put myself in this situation of, oh my God, I have to sleep next to this person. I have to spend 24 hours a day with this person. And I think she would absolutely drive me crazy. kind of riding off what Steven said, I think she's going to be fun while she's around. We might get into this later. I think she has a very, very, very short shelf life on this season. So let's enjoy her for her character and the reputation representation she brings. Because it's been a while since we've had over 40 African American women or any woman of color on the show. So it's exciting that they're bringing that in.
Yeah,
but
she's
she has a very,
57,
very
by the way.
57. Oh wow!
Yeah,
all I remember was the over 45 statistic I saw on Reddit. So I'm like, you know what? Let's enjoy these few confessionals. Let's enjoy her being creepy, but I don't think she'll be here on episode 4. So
right. Yeah. Fair. And so, Colin, who would you want to spend 39 days with on this season? Anyone catching your eye?
Clearly, I'm gonna want to spend with John, mayor of Slamtown, Abraham Lincoln, the George Bushy of Tushy. I think he is. No, and I mean this with a little bit of seriousness. I actually have the most faith in him as a character and as a person after this episode than anyone else. Now, granted, it's still very, very early on and it could change, but I think he is interesting enough to where the editors decided to spend a lot of time with him, and I think he could potentially be actually like almost like a dark horse to win this whole game. And so I'm actually on Team John as of right now. I don't know if you watch his pregame stuff, but he seemed very, very self-aware. So I'm excited for that. I mean, maybe it's all going to blow up, but he's someone who I looked at and I was like, oh my gosh, he could actually pull it off. And then there's that guy, and then there's Gabby. Those are the two I'm kind of really eyeing. Two very different people. But that's just me.
Very different. Gabby is so your type. She is so different of all of the other past Survivor characters we've been into. Like the nerdy glasses girl.
I was going to ask if Gabby was the new Hannah.
Oh, definitely.
No, Gabby's not the new Hannah because, Hannah has a very special place in my heart, and Gabby is not there yet. But, Gabby's, I could see her doing well. I think Gabby could be smart enough to cut Christian when the time comes, and I think she could be savvy enough to go through alliances, and I think she'll be smart enough to put a meat shield in front of her to get her through the game. But, this is all just very early speculation.
It is.
Can I jump your bandwagon, by the way? I want to jump on your John bandwagon, immediately, very hardly. And it's for multiple reasons, and I want to disclose my multiple reasons. I'm a fanatical professional wrestling fan. So John is very serious in that he was in the WWE for almost 10 years. And then now he's in the number 2 promotion in America. So he's very legitimately a pro wrestler, not just someone that says they're a pro wrestler. He's held multiple titles doing it over the last 15 years. So it's really weird because I've seen this person on my TV for almost 15 years at this point. And getting to see them as a character that portrays someone on wrestling and having it develop into who they are as an actual human being and getting to see those aspects, he's actually extremely well-rounded for this game because he has the athletics, obviously, but he's unnaturally athletic. He does parkour as one of his main things and is inhuman with how he's able to manipulate his body. So he is a huge threat physically, but what I don't think people see, he's also extremely into yoga and healthy fitness. I believe he's vegan. So he's also really attuned to who he is and to other people from what I've seen. I really think that he is such a dark horse because I call him a dark horse because people are going to immediately see him as physical threat and be like, oh no. But I see him as dark horse because I see him being very able to utilize the other strengths that aren't so apparent regarding him to do really well in this game because no one's going to expect that this juice head is going to have such a mind on his head. And I think that he's going to do extremely well because people are going to underestimate that aspect of him.
I had no idea about any of that, and I'm really excited that you guys shared that. So I feel like I'm being persuaded to jump on the John bandwagon with those explanations. So thank you very much. Alex, what about you? Who are you super excited about this season?
It's hard to say because there's just a lot of people. I'm pro Davey. I'm pro I'm having to look through because it just everybody had a moment. I'm pro Lyrsa. I think I liked liked Nick's thing so far because like yes, he's like overly game focused, but he also has a human side, and he also just seems nice and personable, even though he's also kind of smarmy. Like there's layers there. So yeah, and just not Dan. That's the main thing.
Is Dan the cop on the show?
Yes.
Yeah, he's the cop who had the whole conversation with Kara about their dog. And I don't know if you remember it, but he was like, "Hey, you remember like Supergirl? You know her name's like Kara." She's like, "Oh my god, that's my name." And he's like, "Yeah, well, I named my dog that." And then she's like, "You named your dog what?" And he's like, "Kara ... like your name and the dog's name." So that was like a really good TV moment that I don't know if people picked up on, but like that was just so yikes. But yeah, Hot Cop Dan is I'm not crazy about him, but I did like, for those who watch The Genius, his idol find was very Genius-esque for those who, because they were talking about, they showed it after he got it, so it's very like non-linear storytelling, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, that's like only the second time that's happened since like Amanda in Fans versus Favorites. Am I wrong?
No, you're not, because she wasn't lying when she said she didn't have it, but then she got it.
Yeah, no, that was a really cool way to tell the story, because I was so tired of like the mad rush to look for an idol on the first episode. There's always like that guy looking for the idol or whatever, and so to kind of not only have everyone get it, but then have them come back and be like, haha, it was in vain, here's the idol, was cool. Although I don't know how much I agree with him showing him, like seeing it and immediately calling the other two girls over. What are y'all's thoughts on that? Colin, you made a face.
Oh, that was terrible gameplay. And I think I don't hate Daniel, I think, as much as like a lot of the popular fan base does, like, the Reddit fan base. But he basically told a girl, "Hey, you're my kryptonite. I'm going to tell you everything." And it's like, oh, maybe that could be a good strategic play. Maybe he's trying to win her over. And then he does tell her absolutely everything in a game in which, being able to keep your cards close to your chest is one of the most important aspects. So it was who were the two girls? It was Kara, and then who was the other girl he was looking with? I don't quite remember.
I know
I think it was Angelina.
I didn't even like was Kara.
Oh, no. Was it Allison and Natalia or Angelina?
No,
I don't think either over there had blonde hair, so he didn't even tell. Like that was just messy.
Yeah.
It wasn't even Kara there. That was just messy.
Wait, what? No, I thought the blonde was Kara.
Well, yeah, but like I don't even
remember who he told about his
idol.
This is embarrassing that we don't know 100%.
No. There was a blonde girl and a brunette girl there with him when he got the idol, and he said, "Oh, I'm so excited! I just showed like the hottest two girls on my I'm with like the hottest two girls on my tribe, and like we have the idol." So like one of them is definitely Kara, and the other is
definitely Natalia, because I remember that.
Okay.
But even then, that's very sloppy. That's your own day too. You don't know who to trust yet. Yeah. So it was silly. I did like though how the editors even duped us super fans, because they had that confessional or that little tidbit, and I'm not 100% sure who said this, where one of the girls said only 15% of all idols that are found back. Who was it?
That was Allison and Angelina, but Angelina was the one who said it.
Yeah, they said like, "Oh, girls never find idols, and we're having to search for one." So we all think, "Oh, a girl is able to find the idol." Then like, nah, Daniel had it the whole time. Mike's stupid. The whole thing. It doesn't matter.
I would be surprised if that doesn't mean like a girl wins the game, though.
I was gonna say, I feel like that's foreshadowing for something.
Well, Jeff doesn't like the season, so a girl might win. So
or like a girl, what's it called? Or like a girl alliance was.
Yeah,
I'm vibing a girl alliance.
Kiss of death, but like maybe.
You got the vibe, now manifest it.
Except for the fact, like, the one problem is, like, the showmance was, like, official on day 1.5. Like, they're loud and proud, like, owns the fact that they were in a showmance day 2 on the island. Which,
no, Ben, they're keeping it a secret how much they like each other.
I'm sure they're going to do a fantastic job hiding it from the other people they share a shelter with.
Right, that means they only make out when they think no one is looking.
They only, like, cuddle a little bit.
It's only over the jeans.
Oh my god. But yeah, so speaking of shelter, we had Pat building that bomb-ass shelter for everyone before his untimely demise, RIP.
Out of and they won with algorithmic slide puzzle skills.
Oh yeah, that was the puzzle on the challenge on the boat when they started.
Yes, the challenge on the boat. That was pretty fun. And I had it was such a feel-good moment when Lyrsa turns to Christian and is like, "We'll help each other." And I was like, "Oh my god, I'm gonna cry." They're like being teammates. So lame. Anyway. But yeah, it was cool. We have had a lot of strong characters because right off the bat on the boat, we had Allison, this like strong female woman doctor. And so it's been cool to see.
I will say Allison, I don't know if anyone else sees this, but Allison looks like Janet from The Good Place. So every time I see her, I just think of just like Janet from The Good Place and her being like, "Oh, this is bad." So I feel like there was a niche thing, but I thought that was funny because Allison also got schooled pretty early by Probst because like Probst was like, "Allison, what are you?" Oh,
and that was kind of a dick move by Probst.
Yeah.
And then he was like, "Pat, what about you?" "Ooh, college was not an option." "Oh, Allison, how do you feel about being privileged?" Like, okay.
It was so awkward. I was like,
yeah, and then he kind of tries to backpedal, and he's like, "Oh, but obviously, if you go to med school and are a doctor, that's really hard work too." And it's like, yeah, it is, and it's a lot of like sacrificing your personal time and your life for that. So like,
but I also noticed he started that conversation by asking Allison why she thought she was on the Goliath tribe, and I was very interested to see that she immediately went to her socioeconomic status. It's like I would not, like, obviously I would have been on David, but if I was on Goliath, like, I wouldn't have known that was me in that way. So that was interesting to me. Like, Allison, why did you get put on this tribe with all of these Goliaths? Like, because I grew up middle to upper middle class.
I didn't realize that was the question that prompted that answer. I just heard her answer as that. But yeah, interesting. I think she was like a little bit of a polarizing character in this episode. Definitely. For sure. So we had a few of those, but not as many as we normally do. And it kind of excited me because I realized after watching the episode, I was like, we met, like y'all said, like 15 to 20 characters, and there's no one that I outright hate. But it's not because of a lack of personality or a lack of, being shown who they are. It's because, like, they don't suck. So,
they're letting us draw conclusions.
Yeah, so I'm really excited about that.
Yeah. Well, I think Nick is kind of the epitome of that because they could have easily just shown Nick acting like shady, and we would all been like, "Oh, Nick, he's just some jerk." And then you had Nick's whole thing talking about his mom and his, his own battles with everything in the future or in the past, and that the fact that they decided to show that and they decided to even give all the Davids their moment in the shelter where they all explained their own hardships. I mean, it's kind of harping on the theme of the season a little bit, and I don't like how we're kind of supposed to be rooting for the Davids at the expense of the Goliaths. But even then, like, have we ever seen anything like that in Premiere before, where they took the time with each person and basically laid out, this is what they've done, this is why they're on the show, and not only that, this is why they deserve to be on the show, this is what makes them interesting. And I don't think we've ever seen that before, and I just hope they can keep up some of that, throughout the season when the episodes get shorter.
It's been years, but I've really said this was, for me, it really was one of my favorite premieres, particularly when it came to character development. Like, I really felt like I got to know, like, 18 or 19 of these 20 people. Like, if you told me, like, a person, I could probably tell you something about them based on what we were given. And I feel like with most seasons, I couldn't even tell you that after the entire season. Like, and to be able to do that after premiere is impressive.
Well, and just on a side note, wasn't there a thing where, like, every single person got a confessional on the premiere of this episode, and they didn't have an episode. Yeah, and they didn't have an episode of Ghost Island in which everyone got a confessional until the finale. So it just shows like the crazy contrast in editing they've taken, or the approach to editing they've taken this season.
And I think they did a very master, like, I think that like the way that they actually weaved the episode was just really impressive. Like, the thing that's coming to mind that is like a great example of like someone that didn't get a spotlight or anything, but still weaved in their personal story. I think her name was B on the Goliath tribe. She was the one that was the advocate for the person who had gone through domestic abuse or
she was the MMA fighter. She had an abusive boyfriend, and she was comforting Jessica because Jessica was telling her story about her mother being in a bad relationship, and so B was like trying to relay that experience and saying like how impressive it was that Jessica was, having to take on that mother role herself, which I just thought was like she made the most of it.
So impressive for the editors to finally be like, these are the natural things that are happening on this island, and you can interpret them and let them speak, like have their own moments and speak to who they are as people, rather than having them be predetermined for what the audience should be perceiving out of those moments. For us to actually just have the opportunity to really organically get to know the people playing the game, even if it's on snippets like this, is just, I'm just really impressed with Survivor is like finally doing that instead of force feeding us.
Yeah, it really, I mean, it really felt with that shelter scene like we were there, like we were in the shelter with them and we were commiserating with them and their stories. And, and it makes you a little introspective and think of your own, kind of things that you've gone through as a David or things that you're super proud of as a Goliath. So it's a really cool, really, really special thing that they've done. But Alex?
And the attention to detail, it even went down to the level of our unfortunate evacuee Pat, who like if they wanted to, they could have easily given him the OTTP. Sorry to be using edgic terminology, but like over the top positive, like, oh, and he helped us build our shelter and he was so nice. But no, like they could have gone that route. They didn't have to throw in "you dirty bitch," but they did. So like even he got the the full rounded treatment.
Yeah, we got to see him being a little crass and like a little uncouth, but very lovable and like very good-hearted and a hard worker. So we got to see like all of the parts that make him him and what he's made of, and then that made it all the more like heartbreaking when he left, because we knew it wasn't them just trying to paint him as this person so you'd feel bad. It was like we got to see him, so we felt bad. And I actually saw in an interview that he did that he actually didn't remember any of his time on the beach, like talking to the medics, talking to Jeff. He had no recollection of that. He remembers being on the boat and then he was in the helicopter. So that's pretty crazy that, that was what happened to him, that he was voicing like his subconscious like mind that he wasn't even there, but he was saying, no, I don't want to quit. I don't want to be pulled from the game, because that was so integral to his core and like who he was. So that was a pretty powerful and terrifying thing to see. But yeah. But yeah, so we didn't have the kind of we all, we're kind of wondering like, oh, is it going to be Goliath tribe going? Because there's some tensions right away, or like, oh, what's going to happen? But we didn't get that first vote off, which in a way was probably a blessing in disguise, because I think not having a tribal council is really what allowed the editors to give us such a huge window into like the souls and minds of this cast. So I am really excited and really looking forward to what the season will bring us.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm afraid of, though, is like we didn't get a tribal council. Is that the reason why we got such a beautiful edited episode? Yeah. Because they didn't need to force feed us anything, and they did start to low-key establish dynamics on the Goliath tribe, knowing that they won the challenge. The only thing that we really saw was the crassness coming out of the shelter building, and then I believe the lawyer from Kentucky was seen as abrasive, but that was the only two pieces that were at all like in terms of tribe dynamics on the entire tribe, and they ended up losing. So I just hope that they're organic moving through the season and not just because there was a medevac.
Right.
Well,
I mean,
I'm sorry, I didn't want to. I was gonna say I agree with Ben on that. My biggest fear, though, after watching this episode, was being like, "Oh, cool, we got to hear from everybody. We're not going to hear from 10 of these people for the next 10 weeks."
Yep, I was about to say the same thing.
That's my biggest fear going into the future of this. And now, I think the next 2 or 3 boots, I think they might have already telegraphed them pretty straightforward. I'm just hoping, though, that if they did telegraph the next 2 or 3 boots with the people who are kind of on the chopping block, they do that while building up everybody else so the whole season continues to feel organic. But if you guys remember, Billy Garcia, who used to be on the show all the time, kept saying, like, the episodes need to be an hour and a half. The episodes need to be an hour and a half. And I think this premiere was a complete testament to that. Because, like, if we could get an hour and a half out of pretty much every episode, we would get so much of a better story. And I don't think the producers, and maybe even CBS doesn't realize, like, how much that impacts it. Because when you have someone voted out and you know their story and you care about them, like, let's say B gets voted out next week. That's going to hit us so much harder now that we know who she is and what she stands up for than her giving no confessional to someone like, I believe, like an Ally being voted out of Fans versus Favorites, or someone like Hope being out of Fans versus Favorites when you don't care. So I don't think production yet realizes, like, the more time you spend developing everybody, the more drama it creates. And I think Australian Survivor is doing a fantastic job of that, besides the most recent boot, of like, hey, we build up and we give everybody something. So that way, when they get voted out, there is a level of sadness because someone is losing out on their dream. Someone's losing out on, everything.
Yeah, agree with that.
Yeah, well, hopefully, even if they don't do that for the remainder of the season, they realize that, like, all of this incredibly positive feedback that I think is what I've heard from all of my Survivor watching friends, too, is that they just loved the premiere and it was the best one they'd seen in a really long time. Hopefully, going forward, at least in future seasons, they realize that and they start to gear their editing in that manner. So.
But I don't want to steer away the conversation, but I will say I don't see how there's any way in hell Pat does not come back within the next 3 or 4 seasons.
I think Pat.
Pat's. Yeah, like I don't see how they don't bring him back because, especially with this injury, because you can make an argument that this was production's fault. Yeah, he wants you back. I think unless something crazy happens, he's back in 4 seasons from now. I'm throwing that out there. I don't see how. He's got a better
chance than Courtney Moon. I'll say that.
Yeah.
Is this the first medevac that was like full, like at like completely environmental, like completely like non-faulted to any person? Like it was literally just he got a bad bump on a wave.
Yeah.
Would you like? I think one of the Fans versus Favorites medevacs was kind of like that, where it's just like camp life kind of thing. Well.
But I think camp life is a little different than like one of those behind the scenes.
You're literally being transported,
We don't really get to
yeah.
And hence like the really confusing like opening of the episode again where there's like we just see this wave and all of this tumbling water and I was like, what's happening? I was like, is it a commercial? Like what?
Can I just say
I was like
those waves were I think as hell. And like the way they used that as the outro instead of like we had a post challenge confessional, but then we had waves, and it's like,
I was like, I'm so confused.
Well, James had a medevac that was purely by camp life, I believe, because he like cut his finger a little bit. But keep in mind, he didn't come back for Heroes vs. Villains 4 seasons later. So,
I mean, he was going to be back anyway because
he's coming back.
He was James, So that's the only like silver lining I'm taking of this is that now that we all know Pat's okay, which is awesome. I'm like, okay, he's going to be back. They're going to find a reason to shoot. I was even like, the next season that's all newbies, throw him in as a newbie. No one's going to care. Like
it doesn't count.
Yeah.
Do like they could do another Philippine style with medevacs or something.
So that would be nice to see. I didn't personally get that vibe, like just from. I feel like when they're going to bring someone back, Jeff makes it very obvious and is very intentional with the kind of things that he says. And we didn't really get that with this, but I don't know if maybe after airing this season and seeing kind of the response from this, if they'll change their mind. Because of course, obviously, like all of these types of people are potential candidates to come back, but I don't know if he actually will.
I just struggle to see how Survivor in production would be able to argue that it shouldn't happen. Like, just because like they literally put their life on freeze for like 2 to 3 months for this production, and he literally got booted out of the game first round at no fault of his own whatsoever.
Right.
So for some reason, I feel like maybe it's just me hoping that the world is a good place and that he gets another opportunity to fully play the game. But I definitely am getting Colin vibes on him coming back in the next couple of seasons. Yep. I don't know if they're going to try and gimmick it and say like, oh, he was the first one out, he got medevaced, here he is again, or if they're just going to let him integrate in. But I think that he'll be on in the next year or a year and a half.
And I think from a production standpoint, I mean, you had Courtney Moon who was bad-mouthing production after everything that happened with her, but she didn't listen to what they were saying about jumping off the obstacle, even though I do think that was a dumb obstacle to have. With Pat, he's been super nice the whole time. Probst said he was the reason.
They had the theme in the first place.
Yeah, they had the theme in the first place. And so to me, from like a legal standpoint, it makes sense. Like, hey, if we can make sure he doesn't sue us by putting him on in a year, let's just get him on. And literally, they could literally throw him in with a bunch of newbies. And if someone says anything, Probst can be like, Pat was booted day 3, no fault of his own. He has the exact same amount of Survivor experience as you guys. Yeah. So that's I'm hoping they just slide him in randomly.
Or I could see it being one of those things where it's like not second chances, but you have those like few characters that come back that like deserve to be back or whatever, even though they didn't have their time that they deserve.
Yeah, like the Philippine style.
Like one per tribe or something that like it doesn't actually end up.
You would have like Pat, Neil, and I don't know, someone else.
Yeah. Oh, Neil, I forgot about him.
Yeah, I don't know who that is either.
Neil from Korong, he had the like boil on his leg.
He had the really curly hair, like
ice cream with him.
What?
It's fine, guys.
He took the idol with him.
Yeah, he had the idol with him.
Oh.
Still.
And he was disallowed from voting in some bullshit.
Yeah.
Oh right, he was jury removed.
Oh my god. I don't know. We shall see, but definitely a very exciting season, and I don't know, it's cool that we just don't know what's gonna happen. We just, I don't know, it's exciting.
We know Natalie's gonna happen.
That's true. We know that there's a lot of strong female characters this season, which is super exciting. There's not just like the one character. It's not just like Sierra, she's a mom and she voted out her mom. Like we have a lot of different women that are super strong. Like we have Lyrsa, who's this very like compassionate, like
love Lyrsa,
like driven person. Who seems like super kind. We have Natalie, who's this like CEO, this like woman in power who like is used to calling shots. We have Allison, who's a physician. Like, it's really exciting.
We have Gabby, who's perfect, So
that too.
Just kidding. Yeah. She seems very intelligent.
She does seem very intelligent. It's cool to see smart girls on the show. I will definitely give you that point. But yeah, and we have Bai is like a
B. She's an MMA fighter.
Right, is an MMA fighter, like another kick-ass woman. So
yeah,
she actually has my favorite story, but I'm still please give her more screen time.
So this is Survivor's Year of the Woman equivalent, I guess.
Yes, I did.
Which is why Probst is so mad, but
Well,
true.
It's fine.
You can't have all the seasons.
Yeah. Sometimes Probst likes the season, sometimes we like the season. It's just
it is one or the other though.
Yeah.
Very true. But anyway, all right. Does anyone have any final thoughts? Soapboxes to stand on? Things they wish they'd mentioned?
I'm going to soapbox one thing because everybody seems to think Natalie is dead on arrival. I'm going to go out and say, especially if she makes it to the first swap, she may very much have a chance at going very far in the season, especially if she swaps in with a couple of people on the David tribe. I definitely could vibe her doing some good work with people on David and I think that she can get past the fact that she is sandpaper to everyone else on the Goliath tribe right now. It can smooth it over when there is a swap if she makes it. I have a lot of faith that she may be more than just a character for the sake of being a character. Soapbox end.
My two things. One, my take on that is that I'm not sure if she's aware enough about her position yet to be able to react if presented with a good situation like that. Given that she didn't let Mike crash and burn, even though like that was a decent possibility as an alternative boot option, but you know, a lot of things are still left to happen. The other thing is, how did we go an entire podcast without mentioning Christian, who is the most out of central casting that any reality TV nerd I have ever seen has been? He enunciates all of his syllables and rambles, and it's great.
Oh my god, wait, we didn't talk about that little like montage of him just like
Oh,
the
talking
montage
things
before the
to
first
death.
break where they like faded out and were,
I have
like,
an
him,
algorithm.
like, second guessing himself in confessional.
Amazing.
And I was like,
Oh my
violent.
god, the time lapse.
I was having
of his
so much
confessional.
secondhand embarrassment.
I love that
myself.
because that would also literally be me, like
Yeah.
not giving any good sound bites at all, just giving way too much backstory and then like rambling on and on
Yep.
and on about my thoughts. Like, absolutely.
I just love the
no.
hilarity of like they're all long-winded in confessionals. They do confessionals for like hour-long periods of time, and they still felt the need to edit it in to make sure it was known how long-winded he really is.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
great. No, but Christian is a great character. I'm really excited about him too.
Yeah, I really like him.
Yeah,
he,
and you know
I mean,
what's-
yeah. Oh, go ahead.
What might be an even better moment than that for me was when he was talking about being aligned with Gabby, and he said, you know,
Oh my god.
we have to, like, you know, not be seen together so much, or we might be considered a couple threat, platonic couple threat.
Yeah.
But
He's
then like
clarifying
the
it.
pause and like
Yeah.
the thinking.
And he's like, wait, shit.
The pause after platonic. I was like, what are you? Though?
So they even made the nerd good this season. That's something. They made
Yeah.
the nerd not annoying.
Yeah. No, it was good. I mean, as usual, Christian gave me Cochrane vibes, but that's because they had him all like scrunched and huddled up and like wet
He
in
does
his
kind of look like him in
confessional
the face.
and like talking about nerdy shit. So like, you know, yet again, I feel like they just are now defaulting to that kind of Cochrane type edit for all nerds. Well, no quotes on nerds. He was a nerd.
Hey,
He said it was an apt term to describe him. So
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. I mean, it's an apt term to describe me, so I feel like I can say it, and it's not
boy,
derisive or anything like that. But yeah,
he owns it though.
Yep.
6 seconds for an AP slide puzzle. I would take that any day of the week. Yeah, put that label on me.
yeah, right. Teach me your ways. I am the worst at slide puzzles of all time. Yeah. I don't know. But anyway, great. So did anyone see the preview for next week? Do we remember the preview for next week?
It was
No.
it was Elizabeth warning Lyrsa that like she was kind of in danger.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was also
And also, Natalie and Christian are both feeling their oats.
yeah.
We'll see where that goes.
Okay. I don't know what that phrase means.
Now you get to explain it.
I don't know what it means either. Don't feel bad, Alicia.
Okay, thank you. And I'm sure our viewers may probably do know because they're probably smarter than we are. But Alex, please enlighten us.
That just means that they're like they're getting into the swing of things. They're leaning into it a little bit more, and that might cause a couple other people to lean out of them. But you know, we'll see how it goes. You can't not be yourself out there.
That's true. Well, you can, but it's difficult.
Right.
People do it, and some people succeed in it. We shall see. We shall see who comes out on top. But thank you everyone for joining us. This has been a fabulous premiere, and I look so forward to dishing about the rest of the season with all of you.
Wait, did you guys do winner picks without me?
Oh,
We have
shoot.
not done winner picks. We're actually, I'm so glad you
I
picked Colin.
I picked John. I go first. I picked John.
Okay.
We'll be doing winner picks next episode. So
Ha.
excited.
Don't be on that
Yay.
Okay.
one.
Yeah. Anyway, okay. Bye.